Hey, if you're pregnant over 40, I have just the community for you. It's a private community away from Facebook where women just like you come together to meet and support one another during pregnancy. To sign up for the waitlist, go to over40fabulousandpregnant.com/waitlist and be the first to know when the membership is open. I can't wait to see you inside. Welcome to Over 40, Fabulous and Pregnant. I am your host, Jamie Massey, and you're listening to episode 34. If you're looking for pregnancy stories of women over 40, you've come to the right place. Today on the show, we have Leah from New Jersey on to share her pregnancy journey at 44. Fun fact, she is originally from Ireland. Her and her husband have a 2-year-old son together. In this episode, she explains her single journey and how she had eggs frozen. She also shares how easy her pregnancy was, but found postpartum to be challenging. I don't have any show updates for now. It will be very soon when I launch the community, so please get ready for that. It's funny. I listened back to this episode and it was when I had terrible allergies. And man, I'm so glad I went to the doctor. Oh, also know that you can email me at jamie@over40fabulousandpregnant.com. This goes directly to me and it's not some third-party customer service group. It is me, and I make a promise to you that it will always be me. So if you want to share your pregnancy story on the show, you can email me or you can fill out the form on the website. Either one is fine. And with that, let's get into Leah's pregnancy story at 44. Leah, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And before we get into it, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure thing. So hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. Today I am 46 and the mom of a 2-year-old that I had at 44, turning 45. And I currently am a life coach and a meditation teacher. I've been a meditation teacher for about 15 years and a yoga instructor, living on Miami Beach, and recently moved to New Jersey. I am married, and we've been married, less than 3 years. So we kind of got married, got pregnant, and moved to New Jersey. So it all happened very fast, but he is woven into my pregnancy journey long before we actually got married, so I'll definitely talk more about that. But yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah, let's start off with that. Now, you were saying your pregnancy journey started out with 39. Will you take us through that?
Sure thing, yeah. So around 39, I was living on South Beach, and I just think I just never had a good clue about who to date. I never dated the dad type guys. I dated like all these idiots. And then I met a really nice guy, but he was 11 years younger than me. So we had a relationship for about a year, maybe a little longer. I can't quite remember. And I suddenly realized at 38, 39, I turned 40 with him, but it was 39 when we were dating, that I really wanted to settle down and I wanted to like move in together and pay rent and have a kid. And he was 28, 29 at the time. And he was just like, I am not ready for this. And we broke up then when I was 40. And I just it was really hard. I went through basically a mental breakdown is the easiest thing I can call it that people can recognize. I had to see a psychiatrist and I actually had to go on meds for about 6 months because I just hit this massive wall where I was single, I was 40, I was living on South Beach, which to some people might sound great, but to me it was I just hadn't planned my life. I had let my 30s go by and I had done nothing in regards to building like the type of future that I wanted. And I felt very alone, and I got in my head, and I built created a lot of demons in my head during that time. So a friend said, well, why don't you freeze your eggs? And I was like, I don't want to. And, so then I got more depressed because of that, because I thought I was giving up if I freeze my eggs and all this nonsense, that I told myself. But I went to see the kind of the fancy number one, if you want to call it, fertility center in Miami, South Miami. And the doctor brought me in. He sat me down. We did all my blood work and stuff. And he said, you've got potential. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. And then he continued to say, well, let's move on to the next phase. So that required me getting, I think it's genetic testing. And I didn't have insurance. I was a yoga teacher, Pilates instructor. So this was like $2,000 out of pocket. And he sees all my, I get my results back, and he brings me into his office and he goes, you know what? I have the best stats in South Florida, and at your age, I just don't want to take a risk, and I think you should do embryos. So here's the paperwork to do a donor. Sign up. Call me when you're ready. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what to do, but I guess he's the doctor. He knows what he's talking about. And I went into the finance office, and I literally started filling out paperwork for, financial aid. And I was like, I guess I'm going to pick out hair color. Like, what am I doing? But I had to go home. Thank God. I had to go home because they don't let you do it right there on the spot. And I went home, and I just had this sinking feeling in my stomach. And I was like, I don't want to do a donor. I don't want to not know the dad. I feel like this isn't the path. And that was at 40, but I couldn't, he wasn't going to freeze my eggs. And so at that stage, I gave up, and I unfortunately got more depressed. So I hadn't seen the psychiatrist at this stage. At this stage, I was just dealing with it on my own. And I was still working, which is hard because I'm teaching people yoga, and I'm like, take a deep breath, everybody, be happy. And meanwhile, I'm going home and crying in my car on the way home. Like it was definitely a juxtaposition as to my own internal battles that I was dealing with. And I turned 41, so my birthday's in November. I turned 41, and I remember I was taking a class, and I was teaching a Pilates class, and a woman in the class, she had frozen her eggs late in life. I can't remember exactly, and she pulls me aside, and she's like, Leah, you do not take that doctor's opinion. You go get a second opinion. And she just said what I needed to hear, and I listened, and I ended up calling my OBG, and I said, I need another doctor to talk to. So I went to another doctor, and the doctor said, listen, this is how old you are. You're 41. These are the facts, but it's your choice. We're not going to say no. Like, it's up to you. We'll take your money. Basically, it's up to you. And, so I went through all the, they do a ton of tests on you, genetic testing and an MRI and like all this stuff that I had to do. And I was alone. I literally did it all alone. And then I signed up they put me through the process of injecting myself every day for, I think it was 12 days. So every night I would go home in my apartment and I would, inject myself. And then I had to ask somebody for a ride to get the egg retrieval. Like, I had nobody. It was such a weird thing. But it ended up empowering me. It ended up helping me tremendously to kind of give me a little bit of, even if I use the eggs or I don't, I thought, okay, like, I'm a bit more in control of my fertility. At least I think, maybe it's a false hope. I don't know. But at least it gave me something. So I froze my eggs at 41.
How many did you get?
Oh, yeah, I got 13 eggs. Oh,
that's great.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But you never know, right? Because sometimes
You
don't. Yeah, sometimes they defrost, sometimes they're healthy or whatever.
Yeah.
But they froze 13 and they sent them off this was in Florida, sent them off to New York. And that was the end of that. And I let that go and gave it to God. And then in 2019, I tried dating other people, whatever, and one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to text my ex. I feel like it's not done, and I'm going to text him. And he actually answered. He hadn't answered before. We were not on good terms for a really long time. So this is the 28-year-old who's now at this stage 31. He answered, and we went on a date. And it was like we had too much history to just act like we didn't know each other. And we went on a date, and I actually had just bought my first and only apartment. And I was like, listen, I'm moving into my apartment in 2020, early 2020. And if you want, move in with me. But I want to get married and I want to have a baby. Like, you know my story. It hasn't changed. If you're in, let's do it. And he was in. And I'm like, it's crazy. He said, okay, let's do it. And so he helped me move out of my old place, and him and his family were very kind. They helped me move into my new place. He moved in with me. And then March of 2020, the lockdown happened, and we had all these like fabulous plans of traveling around Europe and dating. And instead we're sitting in our living room, and I was like, you know what? I'm 40, I guess I was 43, 40, maybe I gave birth at 44. Sorry. So 44. I said, hey, do you want to try having a baby? I'm like, at this age, because I had a friend in Miami who actually was 38, and it took her over a year, and she had a miscarriage. And I thought, look, she's younger than me. She's been trying naturally. I'm 44. Like, this isn't going to be easy. Let's try. And leading up to this, because at 39, because of freezing my eggs, and because in my mind, I very much wanted to have a baby. Like, every time I would go out on a date, I pretty much ruined it right away because I told guys that I wanted to have a kid. And I was like, guys were like, we're out. You know, I'm like, this is not the way to do it. So yeah, I pretty much ruined my dating life all through those couple of years. But I was also not in a good headspace. But what I did, I'm just backtracking a little bit. What I did start doing is I started taking prenatals. I started acupuncture. I was continuing to meditate. I started eating a lot healthier, like cutting out a lot of inflammatory foods. Stopped smoking pot. I mean, just to be honest, like I cut out just things that I felt like probably weren't going to help me conceive, even though I know people conceive under all kinds of crazy things, but this was just how I felt like I could take control of my body. I started getting massage and what's called myofascial release. So around the pelvis and the womb and the hips, like because I had fibroids and polyps and really heavy periods all through I went on birth control all through my 20s, but like I felt like just a lot of stress around my pelvis and maybe even some trauma from some kind of bad relationships I'd had in my early 20s. And I wanted to do a lot of healing around that. So I went to a healer, a woman in Miami who specializes in sexual and vaginal health. I did some internal work. So I really I put everything in, and I created a mantra for myself that was, I mother myself as I will mother my child. I literally would say that to myself every morning. I kind of became a little obsessed, and thank God, Francisco was willing to jump on the crazy train a little bit. But so, yeah, there was a lot of history in my body that I felt like needed healing. My mom before me had her, hysterectomy. So she had also had issues. And so I felt like I was carrying a lot in that sense. So I did energetic healing, but I also took on the diet and the vitamins and the prenatals. And I started taking methylfolate and just really nurturing myself. So when I froze my eggs, I did the same thing. I was like meditating every day and like praying, and I don't know if it works, but it's something, it made me feel better. So then when my now husband was like, okay, I'll move in with you, I'll have a family. And then lockdown happened, and I was like, you know what? We have nothing else to do besides watch Netflix. Let's have sex. So we did, and I was very lucky. I don't want to diminish anyone else's story, but I was just really lucky. We got pregnant naturally within a couple of months, and I missed a period and I was like, oh, I think I need to take a pregnancy test, because I was always really regular. Took a pregnancy test. It was positive. I was like, Took another one. It was positive. I said, okay, I think this is legit. And we were both kind of like in shock. Like, oh, wait, are you really? No, let's go to the doctor. We should probably go to the doctor. And it wasn't like this joyous, like, yeah, we're pregnant. I think it was more like, oh, wait, really? And so then I called my OB, and she was also slightly in disbelief. I think because she mostly dealt with women who were younger than me. I remember when I went to the doctor's office at, I think they made me wait because I took the pregnancy test really early. So I think they had made me wait for, I can't remember whether it was 6 weeks. They wanted a heartbeat. So I feel like it was, I think the heartbeat shows up at 6 weeks. So they brought me in, and she wouldn't show me the TV right away. Like, she wouldn't even put on the sound because she herself, she even said, she's like, I just wanted to be sure. And I was like, lady, I know I'm pregnant. Like, trust me. And that unfortunately became a bit of a battle between us. I'm surprised I even stayed with her, but I think I can be very loyal sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's great. I love that. And how did you feel whenever you saw the pregnancy test was positive? What were you feeling in that moment?
I think I was like, oh, really? Like, I think I was sort of, I wasn't, so I let me back up a bit. I was never the type of woman that was like, I want to have a kid, I want to have a baby, but I knew I wanted to be pregnant, if that makes sense. Like, I guess I just wanted the experience of being pregnant. I wanted to carry a baby. And then whatever comes next, I guess you actually have to deliver it. And then you have to raise it. Like, I'm joking. I love my child, but like, that's kind of, I don't always think things through. And that is definitely a pattern, sometimes I have in my life. But when we got pregnant, obviously I had planned on it. I had wanted it. I prayed for it. I mean, I literally like prayed to God. I prayed to Jesus. I prayed to everybody I could. Fertility. I had crystals and rocks, and I did it all. And when I got it, I was kind of like a little bit shocked. Like, do I deserve this? Is this real? So it took me a minute. It took me a minute. It took me going to the doctor's office, telling my mom, telling my best friend. Like, it took a minute. And then, even then, I think it took a couple, because I don't know. I mean, when you're pregnant in the beginning, you don't necessarily feel pregnant, I think, until sometimes it takes a little bit, a couple weeks, a month, maybe a month or two. But once, and I think it was also an allowing myself to be happy. I think I've always struggled with self-worth and deserving things. And I was like, do I deserve this? Am I allowed to have this? Am I really ready for this? And then I was like, holy cow, I am. Oh my God. This is great. But it wasn't a huge spike of like, woohoo! I think that took a few days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that took a few days. And I remember my really good friend who lives in Brazil, and she's just spicy Brazilian, and she called me, and I was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, and her reaction was crazy. Oh my God, and I was like, oh shit. She's like, you need to yell right now. And I was like, I'm pregnant. So I feel like it helped. Yeah, so it was almost like I was shy, but yeah, she helped me bring it out. Like,
it helped make it feel real?
It helped me celebrate it. Yeah. Because I mean, when you're pregnant, I'm like getting emotional talking about it. When I was pregnant, especially at my age, they don't let you get excited. Like, there's all this caution, wait, you got to do another genetic test. Wait, we've got to do the anatomy test. Wait, mm-hmm. You may get high blood pressure. Wait, you may have to have an elected abortion at this. You still have till 23 weeks, wait. So I felt so much caution at the same time, so there was like a mixed emotion, whereas instead of just throwing caution to the wind, Yeah, so I knew it was real, but I was almost until like the 6 month mark, like, am I really gonna have a baby?
Yeah.
Like there was definitely like a bit of like, is it really mine?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I can relate to that, but because my husband wanted to be really cautious whenever we found out. And I said, I want to celebrate this no matter how long I'm pregnant.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
And I was also going to mention, I kind of have that deep desire to be pregnant too. Not just a mother, but I have this, like, I don't know if it's a human instinct, but I really want to be pregnant.
Yeah. No, I understand. I do. And you have every right to want that. I think it is innate. It's biological.
Yeah, I love that.
It's beautiful.
So how was your pregnancy?
So I was really lucky. Again, I mean, granted, I had been a Pilates teacher and yoga teacher, so I was I was fit, I guess. And so I was able to carry and move, and I also took really good care of myself during my pregnancy. I had prenatal massage towards the end every week. I saw a physical therapist that specializes in pelvic floor work and pelvic placement. And she was basically like, listen, we can't do anything while you're pregnant, but, just she had me wear this belt. And so during my pregnancy, physically I was good. I mean, I definitely had some weird, like, I got constipated. That was probably the hardest thing, like really awful. I drank like a gallon of milk a week.
Oh, wow. Like a craving.
Yeah, like so much milk. Like yeah, it was weird. And I didn't want meat in the beginning, and then all I wanted was meat. Like, yeah, I mean, I just kind of listened to my body. I know people say that, like, people were like, oh, you're going to eat ice cream every day. I didn't. I wasn't craving sweets. And I felt also that at the time, the fetus, or well, now baby, like, he really liked fruit. And so every time I would eat it, I could feel like that's this burst of energy. And so I was very in tune with my son at the whole time. And I also think that's because it was lockdown, I had all the time on my hands because all the gyms shut down. So there was no yoga, there was nothing. So I took an online course to do more meditation at the time. And because there was like, everyone was offering online courses, and I was like, well, might as well. Because my husband was still working. He actually was one of the, he worked in an industry where people still had to go to work. So I was home by myself, like, a lot. And they closed the beaches in Miami, which was really strange. So anyway, so I was meditating a ton, and I think, I really think to anyone out there who is pregnant, like, if you can, like, it's so cool. It's so unique to be in this space where, we're creating a life and our bodies are changing, and there's this soul that hasn't quite taken the human form yet. And so it's in this, it's otherworldly. And then when we allow ourselves, we quiet our minds and quiet our breath, and we allow ourselves to surrender and listen, I just felt like it was a really unique and special time. And granted, I know it was lockdown, and a lot of us, we didn't have a choice but to sit around. But my pregnancy on the whole was, it was, the only challenges, I think, I'll circle back to, was my doctor, because she kept putting me in a box, and it frustrated me because of my age, and like, she wouldn't listen to me. And I argued with her. So I was like, look, I don't feel like I'm your average 44-year-old. Like, I'm pretty healthy. I know my body really well. Why are you having me do all this stuff? I had to take extra ultrasounds and extra blood tests, and I had to pay out of pocket to go to extra appointments. And it was a little frustrating, but I was also like, it's my first time. I don't know any better. I'm just going to trust, the system, because I part of me wanted to have a home birth, but I was also like, I'm a bit more conventional. I was a bit nervous, and, just because everyone's like, your age. And then this nonsense that everyone tells you you're going to bounce back, which is total nonsense. So yeah, the doctor that was a little frustrating. Like, she was like, you're going to get high blood pressure. I never did, so she I forget what else she told me. Like, you're going to get the flu. I never did. It was like she just was so stuck on her stats. And I've been to enough doctors my whole life. My mom was always really diligent about once I got started my period, like, I've been going to the OBG every year since I was like 12. So I kind of get it, but I didn't always appreciate her bedside manner. And that same thing happened in the birth. Like, it was tough. I felt like I was fighting with her. But yeah, so generally, no, my pregnancy was actually really, really
Do you
easy,
think she put a lot of fear in you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I was already nervous myself because, it's like I said, you have all these tests you have to go through, especially the genetic testing and then, the ultrasounds and stuff like that. And then they said he was breech and he wasn't. And then the ultrasound said he was 9 pounds and he wasn't. And, so there was all this. But that's where meditation, like, honest, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a meditation teacher. Like, I know I'm a bit biased in this department, but like it just, and getting prenatal massage and taking walks and having a journal. Like, I did all the things because I have access to that stuff because I've worked in the mindfulness industry for such a long time, and I really became my own student. So I'm really grateful I did all of those exercises, because I think if I hadn't of, I would have been so worried because of like, you're going to have high blood pressure, you're going to have a C-section, you're going to have to, and I was like, you're not even letting me. And everyone was like, oh, you're such a beautiful pregnancy. And I was like, yeah, I feel really good. But then I'd go to the doctor's office and I would shrink. But I stuck with her because I'd known her for so long. And the C-section rate in South Florida is the second highest in the country. So I was like, I don't want to switch horses midstream and go to someone else, because it was important for me to have a vaginal birth. And I just didn't know my chances if I switched. So yeah, and I knew I could push back with her, even though she was going to push back harder.
And did you find out the gender during the pregnancy?
Yeah, so we did. So I say you, but like when you do genetic testing, they basically they find out stuff pretty early with genetic testing. I think it's maybe a little earlier than normal. And yeah, that was a bit of a disaster. But I told the doctor's office to call my husband because I wanted him I wanted to give him something, because pregnancy also the men can sometimes feel like they're not part of it. They're just watching from the outside. They're not feeling it from the inside, like what we're going through. So I thought, let me at least give this to him.
That's sweet.
So he blew it. I mean, he knows that, so it's okay. He was out playing golf, and the doctor's office called him, and he just decided to keep playing golf and not tell me and come home and go to sleep. And I was like, dude, you have a secret, and I need to know. And so I found out a day later than I would have liked to, but yes, I did. I found out the gender. Yeah.
That's funny. So how excited were you about having a boy?
I was excited. I didn't care. Like, so many people were like his mom, and I think everyone thought I was going to have a girl. I think I thought I was going to have a girl, but again, because there was so many stats around health, I just wanted a healthy baby at that stage. So when I found out I had a boy, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Yay, I get to have a boy. This is going to be a little different and maybe better, because maybe I won't put all my issues on a girl like I may have. So yeah, I think, I joke, but yeah, I'm a boy mom. Yeah, it's different than being a girl mom. I know. Yeah, I love him tremendously.
What made you think you were going to have a girl?
There was a softness to the energy that I kept feeling into. There was, and that was my perception. Maybe I was maybe I was, when you project, maybe that was my femininity projecting in some way. I was commingling with the baby's energy at that time. And I speak, I don't know if your listeners are into energy or that kind of feeling, but energy is sometimes it's just our essence or a mood or a feeling, but it's a familiarity, a familiar feeling that we have as we know ourselves. Ultimately we are the ones that know what we feel like on a good day or what we feel like on a bad day, because we're the ones living with ourselves. So when we sit and we meditate, we're allowing ourselves to be more with ourselves. So the energy, if you will, that comes about during a stillness may be more pronounced because we're quiet, So when I would meditate, I just often felt this very like florally light kind of energy, and I just I connected it or attributed it, associated it with femininity, and that was really the main reason.
Interesting. I love how we think that.
Yeah.
Like I even thought, when I was pregnant, each one was a different sex. It's kind of funny how we think that.
That's cool. Yeah. What made you think they were different?
I don't really have a good reason. Just a feeling.
Yeah, it's just your intuition. Yeah. That's good enough.
Was there any product that helped you that you couldn't live without during pregnancy?
Yeah, I mean the prenatals for sure. A good probiotic. Oh yeah, this lotion called Egyptian Magic. It's been around forever. They used to sell it at Whole Foods, but now that Whole Foods is Amazon, you can't find some of these smaller products anymore. But it's cream. So like, everyone talks about stretch mark cream and you have to go out and you have to spend $20 on a stretch mark cream. Egyptian Magic is olive oil, honey, propolis, and like one other, you could eat it. Like it's so natural. So when I was putting products on my body, I became very conscious of the ingredients because it's your membrane, it's your skin, and I just didn't want to have anything touching me that felt full of perfumes or dyes or things like that. So yeah, I would lather myself up with Egyptian Magic, and then I found, I think it's called Happy Elephant. They sell it at Sephora, and it was another lotion and cream that is meant for pregnancy. Like it's also like there's like 10 ingredients in it or something like that. So yeah, my toothpaste, my shampoo, I was kind of OCD. Like I didn't get my nails done. I didn't dye my hair anymore. Yeah, I became a little fastidious, like a little strict about the things I was doing. I know, like, and again, everyone each to their own. This is just what I felt. I totally went hippie. I did still shave though, but I totally went like very, very clean. And yeah, I think I had a couple glasses of wine here and there. Like I wasn't really worried. That didn't worry me very much, but I would just stay away from like smoking and people who smoked and things like that. But so anyway, yes, lotion and lots of organic food and probiotics and prenatals and folate. I think Thorne is a company, Thorne. They're a vitamin company, and their products are really good. And so I got their folate. I'm like, I wish I could get kickbacks from them.
And what about the toothpaste? Did you buy different toothpaste when you were pregnant?
Oh yeah. Like I would use, like I stopped using Colgate and I started getting Tom's. Like little things that may not seem like much, but I really just became more strict about all organic stuff, and it's easier to find them now these days.
What about your deodorant? Did you change that?
Oh my god, I tried. So I tried. I lived in Florida. I lived in Florida at the time. I tried going without deodorant. I broke out in a rash. I tried the Crystal.
Yep.
It's like a rock. Did nothing. Yeah, I used Dove. I'm trying to think. Actually, that's a really good question. During my pregnancy, I think when I wasn't teaching, when I didn't have to move, because I was tired. There we go. That's what it was. I was sleeping a lot during my pregnancy. So I wasn't moving a lot, so I didn't smell too bad. But otherwise, I think I just used Dove with no aluminum. Yeah. But like I cut out I would usually use, I'm also pretty OCD about my face, so I'd use like retinols. I cut all that out. Salicylic acid, cut that out. Definitely no Botox or anything. I mean, they won't even give it to you. yeah, I went pretty natural for that time.
So we've heard you mention about, I think, mentally preparing your body. How else did you prepare for birth and the baby to come?
Yeah. I did a lot of, so there's an old midwife, her name is Ina May, and she's writes a book about, I think it's called The Language of Birth, and it's one of these books that's been around for a long time, but, she's a kind of like, I don't even know if she's alive anymore, but someone gave it to me. My best friend literally mailed me all her birthing books, and so I remember reading it, and she said, do something like 100 squats a day, like some crazy number that I did not do. But I did start doing pelvic floor so lifting like a Kegel exercise, lifting the pelvic floor, releasing it, and doing these really deep squats. And I'm not talking about like a squat with a barbell that you would do at the gym. It's almost like you'd see like a monkey sit really low down to the floor, and your heels don't necessarily have to touch the floor. So I would just get down really low and sort of stretch the pelvic floor, the anus, the inner thighs, and it became sort of comfortable to be in
like
that
a lotus
spot.
position.
And, that lotus would be more sitting. This is like you're okay. Standing. Yeah, you get down super low, and you're almost like in a waddle. Like you're really like if you see. I'm like if you're like in between your knees, like down pretty low, and I have a picture of me pregnant doing it. Yeah. I can send it to you. Yeah, but it was something I read and I thought, and it made sense because what is that? I don't know if you ever heard of the squatty potty. It's like something. Yeah, so it's kind of like that. Like when you lift your knees up when you're sitting at the toilet, the whole thing is that you're opening up the pelvis, the fascia, and the muscles. There's a lot of ligaments around the pelvis. And so I would do that a lot. I would do physical exercise for sure, like side. The thing is too, I also had access to Pilates equipment. So I would do Pilates on my own, geared towards stabilizing my pelvis. And I knew kind of what not to do. Like I'm not going to do, crazy big back bends and things like that. So I kept it all pretty everything was geared towards stability and then relaxation. I mean, I have my good friend in Brazil. She's a CrossFit teacher. She did CrossFit up till her birth. Wow. Like up till I was like, go you. But I'm more like, I was like, no, I need like massage, walks on the beach. That was more my vibe. I really enjoyed the space, and I would listen a lot to my body. If I needed to take a nap, I took a nap. If I needed to rest, I rested. I really didn't push myself in this need to kind of like, I don't know, like, there's sort of a death of like our old self, and then we're welcoming this new chapter. And I think sometimes it can feel like we have to get everything done for our old selves before we become our new self. And I think that can sometimes feel a little overwhelming. So I made peace with my pace mentally, yeah. And then physically, I did a lot of Pilates and walks. Mm-hmm. I walked a lot.
And what about classes? It sounds like you did a lot of reading, but what about classes to help prepare?
I didn't. Yeah, I know. Everyone was like, take this class. And I would sign up, and then I would try to get my husband to sign up, and we would just never get it done. Mm-hmm. But I know, because they offered some through the hospital. A friend of mine did one and was like, you need to do this. But I never did. Yeah, I mostly just self-educated. And I really didn't want to have a birth plan. Like, that was just me, because I was like, you never know what's going to happen. At least from all these books I'm reading, like you go into the hospital or you have a home birth and you think it's going to go one way, and then it flips on its head. And so I was very like anti-birth plan, but I was very pro self-care and trusting. Like the baby knows what to do, my body knows what to do. We've got a millennia of women before us who've done this. I know I can do this. So like deep down, I just was like, I know I can do this. And that's what helped me get through the birth.
Did she tell you needed to be induced?
There were 3 doctors in the practice, and I wanted to meet all the doctors, or at least that's what was recommended. I probably didn't need to, because I didn't know if I was going to go into labor on a particular day and my doctor would be on duty. So I was like, well, let me, do my due diligence and let me meet all the other doctors in the practice. So I think 2 weeks before my due date, or 3 weeks, something like that, I started meeting all the doctors. And then finally I had an appointment a week and a half before my due date. And she's feeling, my abdomen. And she goes, he's breech. And she freaks me out. And she's like, are you okay with being induced? Are you okay with, Pitocin? Are you okay? And I was like, I didn't want to, he's breech, oh God, what does this mean? You need to come in for an ultrasound. And so 2 days later, I go in for an ultrasound, and the ultrasound tech says he's 9.5 pounds. And I'm like, where is this 9.5 pound baby? Because I don't know what you people are like. Is he in my spine? Because I don't see him. But whatever, I have to trust these people. And my doctor happened to be there that day. And the ultrasound tech goes and tells my doctor, and my doctor comes in and she's like, we need to get this baby out now. And I'm like, but the thing is my doctor had been saying that she wanted to induce me at 39 weeks since the beginning. Mm-hmm. And because of my age and this super annoying stat and this new kind of protocol that a lot of doctors are doing is they're inducing women at 39 weeks. And I didn't know that I could say no. I've learned a lot more for sure, and now, but, so anyway, the ultrasound tech, and then she takes me, and my OBG takes me in the room, she checks my cervix, and she's like, I think I was 3 centimeters at this stage, because I was a week before, I was a week before my due date. She goes, you need to come in tomorrow. She's like, you need to go to the hospital right now, get your COVID test, and I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:00. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I'm like, my due date's not till next Wednesday. Can I at least wait till then? And then she literally, she closes the door because the nurse was about to come in, and she shuts the door on the nurse. So it's just me and the doctor in the room. And she goes, your baby is 9.5 pounds, and he may have a really big head, and I'm going to have forceps, and all these complications can happen. And basically, if you don't come in tomorrow, I can't guarantee you that you're going to have a vaginal birth, and you may have to have a C-section. And that was my biggest fear. I really didn't want to have a C-section. And so I look her in the eye and I go, I'm trusting you. And I saw her eyes flicker. I saw them flicker.
You should have known.
I should have known. But I didn't know, and so I went home that night, and I remember meditating, and in my internal compass was like, Leah, you don't have to go in. You don't have to go in. You're gonna be okay. But my scared brain was like, you gotta go in. So we wake up, my husband and I, the next morning, and the car battery was dead. It was okay. How many other signs? It's what, we're not. So we didn't go in the next day. And then I get a call and that was a Thursday. We get a call from my doctor, and she's like, where were you? And she's calling me, and the hospital's calling me. And I was like, we didn't come in. And then she's like, well, then you need to be here tomorrow. So we sat and we thought on it, and we were like, fine, whatever. I was due so this is Friday. I was due Wednesday. And we were like, what's 4 days, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days? But it is a lot when you're giving birth. It is. And I was still only I was 4 centimeters. So we go to the hospital Friday morning. I walk into the room, and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of equipment in here. And they're having me sign a lot of paper. Oh, I'm going to give birth? The baby's coming out today. Whoa. I don't think I was ready for this. I thought it was just a warm up. And, I go in, and she breaks my water, doesn't tell me, just lays me on the bed, literally sticks this thing, a needle, a knitting needle, this long thing with a little hook on it. Doesn't she just this is going to be uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God. And then doesn't tell me that she broke my water. There's literally 5 people hooking me up to all these different IVs and taking my blood and doing all this stuff. And then she starts me on Pitocin, boom, right away. And I don't know what the normal numbers are, but like she ramps me up to, I think it was 16. And it was like,
intense.
It was horrible. It was horrible. It was horrible. And
But
sorry,
was
go
he
ahead. Yeah.
breech still? And she's inducing you?
No. So that's sorry. Yeah. So I didn't finish that. Yeah. So that woman says he's breech. I go in and I get the doctor said, I get the ultrasound. He's not breech. But the ultrasound tech said he was 9 pounds. So that was my doctor's justification for being like, you need to give delivery because your baby's too big, which is also now that I've read more and, you know, I've been more in the pregnancy world since I've created my Oracle deck. Like, that is not a reason to induce somebody. And I was big. I was over 10 pounds. My mom had a vaginal birth. My husband was over 10 pounds. His mom gave a vaginal birth. So I think they thought I was going to have a big baby, but I was like, dude, have you seen the width of my hips? Like my pelvis, like I'll be fine. I knew I was going to be fine, but they wouldn't listen to me. And I didn't know that I could have said no. And then I could have been like, you know what? I want to wait till my due date. But anyway, like it is what it is. You know, it happened the way it happened. So we went into the hospital and they induced me right away. I did not want to give them control because I had read once you're induced and then the epidural comes and then the catheter comes and then it's a C-section. And that's exactly, but I didn't have the final thing. They induced me. They gave me the epidural because I was just in so much pain. I couldn't relax. And the doctor was like, you need to relax. And I was like, I'm in so much pain. This induction sucks. And I just surrendered. I was so defeated. It was like beating a dog, you know. I felt like I was whimpering in a corner and it was not a nice experience. And then they put the catheter in and then they basically said, listen, you're going to have a C-section. You're not dilating. And this was 11 hours and I was only at 4 centimeters. I never dilated. And the doctor was just like, you know, she was like, I thought I was sure you were going to be okay. And I'm like, you're the one that brought me in here.
It's your fault.
It's your fault. Oh my God. And then I start crying and I'm like, I need more time. And she goes, I'll give you 2 hours. This was 6:30 at night. She goes, and I was still only 4 centimeters. She goes, I'll give you 2 hours. And she's like, I'm going to leave and I'll be back. And then, so there was all these different nurses and it was very still in the room. And I went into another place. I had been at that stage on these strong, you know, meds for, oh my God, probably close to 9 or 10 hours, 10 hours maybe. My legs were shaking. Like I had peed on myself multiple times. I was defeated. I was really defeated. And my husband, he didn't talk, but all he did is he put his hand on somewhere on my arm or my shoulder. I can't remember where, and I closed my eyes and he sat with me for those 2 hours. And I went into, I don't know, if you believe in angels, I swear like my grandmother visited me and I feel like an angel came into the room and I feel like something happened because all of a sudden the nurse comes to check me 2 hours later and she goes, I can't find your cervix. And I'm like, what does that mean? Where'd it go? And she's like, you're going to have a vaginal birth. And I was so tired and I was exhausted, but I was like,
let's do it.
Yes, let's change the music. Yeah, no, I literally was like, we need to get rid of the spa music and we need to put something on. So I like put on reggae, which was the only thing I could think of. And the energy just changed. All of a sudden the nurses were like, oh, you're going to get what you want. Oh, da, da, da. And then the night nurse comes in and she goes, I had you down on the chart for a C-section. And I was like, we're going to do the not today. And then the doctor comes back and she goes, oh my God, Leah. Because she's Dr. Schwarzbart, very Jewish, like New York lady. Oh, Leah, I can't believe it. You're having a vag. Oh my God. And I'm like, I could kill you, but yes. And then Yeah, so, and then you know what? The probably the most amazing thing was my son's heartbeat never changed, because for a lot of women who go through this, where they're induced at this rate, where it's basically like they force you to give birth, because that's what it is. And I say that like kind of with a chip on my shoulder, but that's kind of what it feels like. Most babies' heart rates will fluctuate, and that's where the C-section becomes mandatory. But his heart rate never changed. It literally, like, he just was watching the whole time, like, you people are crazy. I'm just gonna chill in my happy place. And then when he was ready to come out, because we basically were like, come on, kid, you're coming out. He's like, fine. And then he was born in 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
And that was it.
Wow.
I know. After all that. I know. And then I was so mad afterwards. Oh, I was so... I know, right? I got what I wanted. I wanted a vaginal. But I was so mad at myself that I didn't speak up. I was so mad at because he comes out and they weigh him and they're like, oh, 7 pounds, 7 ounces. And I'm like, you people said he was 9 something. That's why you brought me in here. And I don't know. I just had this like reaction. This didn't happen till like at home. So let me back up. Like when I was in the hospital, I was very excited, very loving, very like, oh my God, I have a baby. What am I going to do? And the drugs were still leaving my system. So I was shaking for like that whole next day, because they kept me for the weekend. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, like the drugs took a while to leave, and they put me on a drip of some sort of I don't know what it was, but something to help me recover. Yeah, so the haze of post-birth is definitely interesting, and but it's crazy. Birth is crazy. It's beautiful, but it's crazy.
Did you have anything important to you, like after birth, like skin on skin or delayed clamp, anything like that?
Yeah, yes, I didn't know, again, like, I think the cord clamping, I didn't do a lot of research. I think I was reading so much about, like, the importance of vaginal birth and sort of how to take care of myself and things like that, but I didn't do a lot of research in terms of cord clamping, so they cut his cord right away. They actually had my husband do it, but I did have skin to skin, excuse me, and then when he came out, they did all these tests on him, and it turns out he had hip dysplasia, so he had to be put in a harness immediately, like within the next day. So he was this little baby, and they put this harness, and I couldn't do full skin to skin with him because he had to wear the harness 24 hours a day. But yeah, I think it's breastfeeding. That's the big thing. I really, really, really wanted to only breastfeed. I was like, I'm not using formula, and so that was and I remember in the hospital, they like give you all this, especially the pediatrician, they're like, here's all this formula, and I was like, no, I don't want it. And then they're like, and they like make you check a box. Oh, and circumcision, that's the other one. They like were like, and I know everyone has their own choice, but we chose not to circumcise him, and so they were like, they must have asked me 3 times, like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? I had 3 different people, and I'm like, yes, like, leave me alone, because there's just certain, I think, routines that people go through, and I was doing things a little differently. Yeah, so the breastfeeding was really important, and then not circumcising was really important.
And how did breastfeeding go?
It's hard. I think people don't, we could probably have a whole other topic about that. Like, I don't think people tell you how hard it is, but I did it, and I did it. I really did it. I did it. But I wasn't, my nipples were super sore. They were chapped, when the milk first came in. So I think it takes like a day or 2. I can't remember, but my armpit, my lymph nodes swelled up like little grapes. And I guess it's a thing, but I didn't know what it was. And I like called a doctor, and luckily my husband's intuition, like, he started milking me like a cow, and we started putting like hot compresses and cold compresses, and he did some research to how to clear the lymph nodes, which was also really high quality probiotics and dark leafy greens. So I started taking these really high quality probiotics, and then I would make green shakes for myself once a day. And then I did like these lymph massages, and within, I think it was like 4 days, it was
Wow.
good. You sometimes you just because most people would get mastitis, and then you have to go on meds, and then you can't breastfeed. And I was like, I don't want to do that, so we just took it into our own hands, and luckily it worked. And I'm a big believer in what we put in our bodies is really important, especially because that's what I was giving to my baby at that time. So I just ate a really clean, iron and like green rich diet at that time, and lots of oatmeal and things like that. And then I only breastfed. I didn't make enough milk to pump and get bottles, and so everyone's like, oh, your husband can feed him at 4 a.m. No, unfortunately, I wasn't producing enough milk, so like I was up every 2 hours, and I went crazy. Like, it's hard. It's super hard. It's really hard. And I think that's when the anger started. Like, I was just angry, and I would be sitting up in my bed at like 3 a.m, because sometimes he'd feed for an hour and a half. It's not like, oh, they feed for 10 minutes and then they go to sleep. It's like, no, they fall asleep and you have to wake them up. And then it was a little intense. But it was important to me.
Did you have any troubles latching, or did you need any outside support to help with breastfeeding?
No, he's an eater, that little guy. Yeah, no, he grabbed right on, and he just went for it. And I breastfed only up till like 6 months ago, like almost 2.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Impressive.
Yeah, I didn't plan on it. I wanted to go a year. That was my thing. And this is also like, I don't know why. I can't tell you. I didn't read anything. There was an innate, kind of like, wanting to be pregnant. There was an innate desire in me to feed my baby from my breast. And I think we only used formula maybe like, I don't know, 15 or 20 times over the course of that first 6 months before we started food.
That's great.
Yeah, and it was, but it's hard. And I think that's maybe what, I don't know. Everyone has their own reasons for it, but it's
Sure.
definitely not convenient. And I also wasn't working at the time, so I had more time to sit around in my pajamas. Yeah.
Why'd you stop breastfeeding?
He was almost 2, and when did I stop? Christmas. Yeah, I stopped Christmas. So I wasn't producing any milk anymore. It was like a thimbleful, and I had COVID last summer, and I just, like, when I was sick and I was breastfeeding him, and I was like, I don't need to do this anymore. It hurts. It's hard. So it was more like I had gone my year. It was almost 2 years, and then by Christmas I was home with my parents, and there was a lot of distractions, so it was easy to be like, let's do something else besides grab my boobs. And so it was just time. I was done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how was your recovery?
My recovery, so I think because I breastfed for so long, my, what do you call it, prolactin in your ligaments, because you stretch, right, your pelvis, like that's how we're able to give birth. But when you breastfeed, you also you keep the prolactin. It's like the hormone. So my pelvis was clicking for almost 2 years, and it was very disconcerting. Like, it was weird. So yeah, and I put on, it took me a long time. Everyone's like, oh, you're a yoga teacher or whatever, like, you're going to bounce back. Like, that's nonsense. There is no bouncing back. I think a doctor said it takes you 9 months to put it on. It's going to take you 9 months to take it off. And I think more people should hear that instead of
That's
this
good.
like, yeah, it's not fair to think that we're going to bounce back, whatever that means. So it took me probably a year to lose the weight. And then, I was also like, some people are like, okay, cool, I'm good, I want to hand my baby off. Like, I was very like, it's mine, and like, I just was like, I don't want to give him to anybody. And so it took me a long time to share him. I would say like over a year. Not that I wouldn't let other people touch him or hold him or kiss him or whatever, but I was like, no other caretakers, no other, like, I definitely have been like the alpha mom in that sense. And then I think now that I've stopped breastfeeding, I've been getting some postpartum depression because I don't, the oxytocin isn't flowing like it was with the breastfeeding. So that's just been something I've been aware of, but I have lots of tools and things to help me with it. Yeah.
And going back to the clicking, was it pain?
No.
Was it a noise?
It was a feeling. Yeah, it was annoying. Like because I went to see a few different physical therapists, and like if they would put their hands literally on the bones of my pelvis on the outside, and if I did a certain movement, it was mostly laying on my side or twisting. They could feel it. Like you could feel like a rubber band almost. And what the PT that I went to, the last one I finally saw, like some people have a diastasis of their belly, like, where there's a separating of the muscle. And what she said is I probably had a very mild diastasis of the pubic symphysis. So the really big ligament between the front of the pelvis. I had a mild separation there. And then I did have a slight pull of my abdominal, my rectus, on my left side, and that's never been the same. Never been the same. I've lost my flexibility totally. Like I used to be more flexible. It's gone. But I've been sitting a lot more with him and kind of crouched over and things like that. But yeah, no, it didn't hurt. It was just this weird, it was disconcerting. It was like, oh God, it was like, it's just weird. Like your pelvis is not supposed to make this sound or this noise. And I felt very unstable. I felt like there was a lot of things I couldn't do, which was just, kind of weird. Yeah.
And mentally, it sounded like you were okay before you stopped breastfeeding.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was very grateful, but I think I was also like very, 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 very focused on being a stable provider for my child. So breastfeeding and then, just giving him support, giving him a bath time and giving him structure, giving him routine. So setting up the kind of the mother role for him was very much my focus. And now that I've stopped breastfeeding, it's almost like I'm pulling back a little bit, and I'm trying. I have started working a bit. I'm teaching a bit now online and reaching out with the Oracle deck. So, but I think hormonally too, there's been some there's been some spikes that weren't there before. Like now that I get my period again, because I didn't get it for over a year. After birth, even over a year. Now when I get PMS, like, oh man, I'm not nice. Like I need to take a walk. Like it's not, I don't even like myself when I'm about to get my period. So, and I wasn't like that before, so I don't know if it's because of being 46. I don't know if it's breastfeeding. I'm not fully sure what it is. I feel like I should go get a hormone test. Yeah, it's definitely more intense, my PMS now, than it was pre-birth, for sure.
And what about the anger you mentioned earlier? Did that resolve itself too?
I think I just I'm fiery. I'm pretty fiery. So it's still in me. I think I have, it's like a contradiction, right? I'm like a very good teacher. I'm very good at what I do. Maybe that's why, because I understand, but I also have a very fiery side to me, and I think it had a lot to do with the lack of sleep, that it was more pronounced, but it's still in me because I just think it's kind of just part of me. It's like, it's like a piece of furniture that's in the house that I recognize, but I'm not as caught up in it. So now when I get angry, I'm like, I see you, anger. What do you need? Usually it just needs a hug. Whereas when it was, I don't know why I got so angry right after birth. Like I don't know. Like I can't tell you. It was like I gave birth and I got pissed. Like it was weird. It was maybe, it was something that needed to happen. Like maybe, I don't know. I really don't know. But I can say it was a lack of sleep. I was pissed that the birth, I didn't say what I should have said, but I still gave a vaginal birth. So, I should focus on that. But yeah, it was interesting, but I wasn't angry like towards my husband. I wasn't angry towards my child. I was like, there was like an internal
Sure.
frustration, and then a worry, like, am I going to keep this child alive? Is he gonna fall down the stairs? Is he going to eat? Like that started making me a little, my adrenals, I felt like a little on edge. And I think that's slowly kind of going away, but people say when you become a mom, that's also pretty normal. You just worry more.
Yeah. I don't think that ever goes away from what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to add about your birth or pregnancy?
No. I mean, I think it's such a personal journey for everybody, and I appreciate you having me on the show. And I mean, those that are pregnant, I think it's, congratulations, and those that want to become pregnant, take care of yourself and nurture yourself and be good to yourself, and then may God take care of the rest. I think it's it's a beautiful, but it's also a very personal journey, and just don't compare yourself to anybody else. It's
That's good.
yeah.
And do you have plans to have any more kids in your 40s?
Everybody asks to do that. I probably would, but my husband doesn't want to. So I think, I think we're good. And it's also like, I don't know. I'm also like, look, it was so easy the first time. Maybe, just say thank you and move on. So I'm okay with doing that as well.
And what has been your biggest challenge being pregnant in your 40s?
Biggest challenge being pregnant, I think the recovery from what I understand. Like, my pregnancy was really easy, but it took a long time to feel my body back again, or to feel like, or just to be okay with the changes, that happen. I think the recovery took longer, where some people, they, maybe it's an age thing. You give birth at 28 or 30 and you're like, you're good, you lose the weight or whatever. It's not even about losing weight. It's just, it felt like a long emotional kind of vulnerable. It felt very vulnerable, and being okay with being vulnerable. So that, I think the recovery was probably the biggest challenge. And then the postpartum care sucks. I just think it sucks. I think you get one checkup at 6 weeks, and then they're like, okay, bye. I just think it could be better. I really do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of people mention that.
It could be. There could be a lactation consultant. There could be someone that comes to your home. There could be a pelvic floor therapist,
yes.
There could be like a mental health, it's kind of a joke.
Yeah.
I had a Zoom call. Like, it was nothing,
gosh.
and they go, are you depressed? No. I mean, she was literally going to give me like antidepressant. I was just like, no, it just doesn't feel comprehensive enough. So but that's a bigger problem, that's a national thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you'd recommend that would help prepare someone for pregnancy and birth in their 40s?
Get prenatal massage. Yeah, if you can afford it. If you can't, if you just get a support system, if you have a partner, great. If you don't, if you have a best friend, journal. Like, I think I really come back to, like, create a nest for yourself. Make your home your special place, or, create a sense of safety for you, because when we go into the birth and afterwards, it's very vulnerable, and I think it's important to just create that nest and self-care while you're preparing, while you're growing a human in your body. Take care of yourself a lot, in a good way, in a healthy way, and really nurture yourself. I would say that's important.
I love that. What advice would you give yourself when you were pregnant if you could go back?
Be an advocate. Don't be afraid to ask questions to the doctor. Don't be afraid to question, them, and don't be afraid to push back. Yeah, I think that's probably, for me, would have been good. Yeah.
And where can our listeners find you on the internet?
Yeah, well, on Instagram, it's at Leah Meditates or at the Pregnancy Deck, which is my oracle deck called the Pregnancy Deck. And then on the web, it's leahkinsella.com. So KINSELLA.com. Leah Kinsella.
And will you tell us more about the Pregnancy Deck?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, so while I was pregnant during the lockdown, and again, I had time on my hands, I like using oracle decks. And if you're not familiar with an oracle deck, if you know what a tarot deck is, people sometimes are more familiar with that. Oracle decks are a little looser, so they can revolve around anything from the trees to affirmations. They literally have the scope of themes that they use. They don't have to follow a set pattern or routine. So I looked for something to do with pregnancy because I thought, wouldn't it be fun to, maybe pull a card a day with focusing on pregnancy? And I couldn't find a pregnancy oracle deck. I found birth decks and suggestions and things like that. And I started researching what it would take to make one, which was a huge undertaking, which I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But I did it. I researched and I created a deck. So it's 40 weeks. It's 40 cards, and it's based around the 40 weeks. And the cards they're a mix. So there's the elements, there's emotions, there's meditations, there's affirmations, there's the 9 months. Because I felt like, or I feel like our pregnancy, yes, of course, we're creating a life, and yes, of course, we're pregnant, but we're also we're multidimensional beings, and we have emotions, and we have senses, and I'm also a big advocate for meditation. So I wove that into the 40 cards, and then I was very lucky. I found an artist who was willing to work with me for a very reasonable price, I should say. And he did the artwork, and then I literally figured out how to use InDesign software because I had no idea, and I figured out how to write a book, and then I figured out how to copyright it. I sent it over to the copywriting and figured out how to print it, and it was this massive project that ended up taking. I only got them last year, 2022. It took about 2 years to finally do it, but
wow.
Yeah, so the Pregnancy Deck is beautiful.
And where can we buy these cards?
So you can get them on the pregnancydeck.com. So if you go to either just the pregnancydeck.com, it's an actual website, Shopify website that you can get it. Or if you want to just scroll through Instagram at the Pregnancy Deck, it has a link there. Or they're on Etsy. If you prefer to use Etsy, my name at Leah Meditates is the shop, but the Pregnancy Deck is there. It's one of the only ones, and soon to be on Amazon. Amazon's just a little bit harder to deal with, but and my website, and they're also on my website, of course.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Leah, so much for coming on the show.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so glad we made this happen, and thank you so much and congratulations to you for just putting yourself out there and doing this journey too. It's really special.
And that concludes Leah's pregnancy story at 44. What a beautiful story. I love that we have this space for women to tell their story with so much honesty and vulnerability. And if you're interested in anything we talked about in the show, or even about the Pregnancy Deck, I have all the links in the show notes. And I don't think I mention this very often, but almost every single one of these stories are available on the website in text form with links at over40fabulousandpregnant.com. It's not exactly a transcript, but it reads more like a short story. And then, of course, all of the links are there also. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next Monday.